The golden city of Draconis stood high above the clouds. Its towers shined like fire, and dragons of every kind flew across the glowing sky. It was the day of the royal trial, a test every dragon heir had to pass to prove they were worthy of the crown. In the center arena stood Princess Lyra, the only daughter of the Dragon King. Her crimson wings shimmered with pride, but her heart was full of fear. All her life, people told her she was special, born with the fire of the ancients. But deep down, she knew the truth. Her fire had never burned right. Around her, the crowd roared. The elders watched from their golden seats. Her father's deep voice echoed through the air. "Begin the trial." Lyra took a deep breath. Flames rose around her, and the ground trembled. She raised her hands, trying to call her fire. For a moment, a spark appeared, bright, hot, and full of promise. But then it died. Silence fell. She tried again. Nothing. The crowd began to whisper. Has she lost her power? She's not worthy. A shame to the royal bloodline. The word stabbed her heart. Her hands shook. She looked at her father, but he turned away. "Princess Lyra," said Elder Varys coldly, "you have failed the trial of fire." Lyra's wings folded tight. She wanted to scream, to tell them she could try again. But the rules were ancient, one chance only. Her fire had failed, and so had she. That night the palace lights dimmed. Servants avoided her eyes. The once proud princess walked through the silent halls alone. Every portrait of her ancestors seemed to stare at her with disappointment. She entered the great hall where her father waited. "You are no longer heir to the throne," he said. His voice was heavy but without warmth. "You will leave Draconis by sunrise." Her chest tightened. "Father, please. I can learn. I can train." "No," he interrupted. "The kingdom needs strength, not weakness." Her eyes burned with tears. "Then I will go," she whispered. Outside, storm clouds gathered. As dawn broke, Lyra stood on the edge of the floating city. Wind howled around her as she spread her wings for one last flight. But the moment she jumped, her wings failed her. She fell on fast and hard, and through rain and darkness into the unknown world below. When she opened her eyes, everything hurt. She lay in the ruins of an old human city, her wings torn, her fire gone. Rain poured down, washing away the blood and ash. For the first time, the proud dragon princess was truly alone. Hours passed. Her vision blurred. She heard faint footsteps, and soft and careful. A shadow appeared beside her. A man's voice spoke gently. "Hey, are you okay?" She blinked and saw a man wearing old, dirty clothes, holding a flashlight. His face was tired, but his eyes were kind. "Don't move," he said. "You're hurt," Lyra growled weakly. "Stay back, human." But he didn't listen. He took off his coat and covered her with it. "You'll freeze out here." Her pride screamed inside her. A dragon princess saved by a human? Impossible. He lifted her gently, carrying her through the rain. She tried to resist, but she was too weak. Why are you helping me?" she asked in a broken voice. He smiled softly. "Because you need help." Those words echoed in her mind. No one in her kingdom had ever said that. Not her father. Not the elders. Not even her friends. As darkness pulled her back into sleep, her last thought was full of confusion and shame. Why would a weak human help me? When my own people left me to die. The man carried her into a small, warm building, an old janitor's workshop. Broken machines and cleaning tools filled the space. He laid her on a blanket, started a small heater, and sat beside her quietly. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. The storm was fading, but something new had begun. A strange bond between a fallen dragon princess and a humble human janitor, and neither of them knew it yet. But this meeting would change the fate of both their worlds forever. When the dragon princess woke, she was no longer in the storm. Instead, she found herself lying on a soft blanket inside a small, messy room. The air smelled of soap and metal. Dim yellow lights flickered above her, and machines hummed quietly in the corner. She blinked. Her body hurt everywhere. Her once golden armor was broken, her wings torn, and her fire gone. For the first time in her life, she felt powerless. Suddenly, she heard a voice behind her. "Oh, you're awake." Lyra turned sharply. A human stood near the door, wearing an old brown uniform with the name Ethan stitched on it. His hands were covered in oil and cleaning dust. He held a mug of steaming soup. "Careful," he said gently. "You've been out for 2 days. Where am I?" Her voice cracked. "My workshop," he replied. "I found you outside near the scrapyard." Lyra frowned, trying to remember. She saw flashes of lightning, the fall, the rain, and then this man's face. "I didn't ask for your help," she said coldly. "I know," Ethan said with a small smile, "but you needed it anyway." He placed the soup beside her. "Drink this. It'll help." Lyra turned her head away. "I don't take food from humans," Ethan chuckled softly. "Fair enough, but I'm not leaving you to starve." He walked over to a small table where an old radio played soft static. The room was simple, a few tools, broken robots, and two small beds in the corner. Lyra watched him quietly. He didn't look strong or powerful. His body was thin, his clothes patched. Yet, something about his calmness made her uneasy. "Why did you save me?" she asked finally. He looked up. "Because you were hurt. You know what I am?" He nodded. "A dragon. Or something close, right?" Lyra turned her face away. "You should have left me." Ethan didn't argue. He just started cleaning a broken drone on his table. "Maybe, but my daughter would have been angry if I did." "Your daughter?" He smiled. "Yeah, she's out right now helping a neighbor. Name's Maya, 8 years old. Talks too much." Lyra stared at him. The idea of a human child living in this place made her chest feel strange. A few minutes passed in silence. Then Ethan said, "You know, I used to think strength meant never falling. But life, it changes that idea." Lyra looked at him. "You sound like an old monk." He laughed quietly. "No, just a janitor." That word, janitor, confused her. "What is that?" "I clean things," he said simply. "Trash, machines, streets, whatever's broken." Lyra frowned. "You clean? That's your job?" "Someone has to," he replied. "If everyone waited for glory, the world would drown in dust." She didn't understand him. Dragons believed only in power and fire. Cleaning, helping others, those were weak things. Yet as she watched him carefully fix the drone with patience and focus, something stirred inside her. After a while, Ethan spoke again. "You can stay here until you heal. Then you can go wherever you want." "I don't need pity," she said sharply. He looked at her kindly. "Then take it as hospitality." She wanted to argue more, but her stomach growled. Ethan didn't say a word, just pushed the soup closer. She hesitated, then finally took it. It was simple vegetable broth, but it tasted warm. It tasted human. When the door opened, a small girl ran in. "Dad, the rain stopped." She froze when she saw Lyra. "Whoa, is that a cosplayer?" Ethan laughed. "No, Maya, she's a friend who needs rest." Maya's eyes widened. "She's so pretty. Like a dragon from my storybook." Lyra blinked, surprised by the child's excitement. No one had ever looked at her like that, with wonder, not fear. Maya ran over and handed her a small blue flower. "Here, it's for you. It means healing." Lyra took the flower slowly. "You give gifts to strangers?" Maya nodded. "Dad says kindness makes people stronger." Ethan smiled at his daughter. "Go wash up, kiddo." When Maya left, Lyra whispered, "Kindness makes people stronger?" Ethan shrugged. "Sometimes, yeah. It's harder than fire." That night, Lyra couldn't sleep. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The human's words repeated in her mind again and again. Outside, rainwater dripped softly from the roof. Inside, she could hear Ethan repairing another broken tool, humming quietly. It was the sound of someone who never stopped trying, even when life broke everything around him. For the first time in her life, the Dragon Princess wondered if real strength didn't come from fire or power, but from a human heart that refused to give up. And deep inside, something small and warm began to glow again. Not her royal flame, but something new. Something human. Morning sunlight slipped through the broken window of the workshop. Dust floated like tiny stars in the air. For the first time in weeks, the sky over the human city was clear. Princess Lyra sat up slowly. Her body still ached, but she could move now. She looked around. The room was quiet except for the soft clatter of tools. Ethan was fixing an old cleaning robot, his hands steady and calm. "Good morning," he said without looking up. Lyra didn't answer. She was still trying to understand this man. He was simple, just a janitor, but there was something powerful in the way he moved. No rush, no fear, only focus. When he noticed her watching, he smiled. "You look stronger today." "I feel nothing," she replied coldly. "My fire is gone." "Then," he said gently, "maybe it's time to start from zero." Lyra frowned. Start from zero? Dragons never start from zero. Ethan put down his tools. Maybe that's why dragons fall so hard. His words hit her like a soft punch. She didn't reply, just stared at the floor. After breakfast, Ethan asked her to walk outside with him. The human city stretched far, a maze of ruined towers and half-working machines. The streets were full of dust, wires, and broken glass. What is this place? Lyra asked. My work zone, Ethan said. I clean here every day. Keeps the machines running and people safe, she scoffed. You clean garbage for a living? He nodded. Someone has to. He handed her a small broom. You can help if you want. Lyra stared at it like it was a joke. You want a dragon princess to sweep? Ethan smiled. You said your fire is gone. So let's build strength in other ways. Start small. At first she refused, but after a few minutes she felt bored watching him work. With a sigh, she picked up the broom. The first sweep was awkward. Her claws tore the handle and dust flew everywhere. Ethan laughed softly. Not bad for a royal. Lyra glared, but soon she started again. Sweep, step, sweep, step. Slowly her moves became smoother. The rhythm of work calmed her mind. Hours passed. Her hands hurt, but strangely it felt good. For the first time in her life she was doing something with her own hands, not magic, not royal commands, just honest work. Ethan watched her quietly. You're learning fast. She didn't answer, but inside a tiny warmth flickered. Later, Maya returned from school. When she saw Lyra sweeping, her eyes went wide. You're helping Daddy clean? Lyra looked embarrassed. Only for today, Maya giggled. You look like a superhero cleaning up after a big fight. Ethan laughed, and even Lyra smiled a little. That evening, they sat outside as the sun went down. The city lights blinked like fireflies below. Ethan handed her a cup of tea. You know, I wasn't always good at this, he said. When my wife passed, I lost everything. I thought cleaning was useless. But every small thing I fixed made the world a little better. Lyra looked at him. You lost your maid, and still live like this? He nodded slowly. Because I had Maya, she needed me. I couldn't stop. So I started from zero. Those words echoed in Lyra's heart. She looked at her hands, scarred and tired, and whispered, Maybe I can start again too. Ethan smiled. That's all it takes, a choice. Over the next days, Lyra helped him more. She repaired small bots, carried trash bins, and even learned how to work human tools. At first, she hated it. But soon, she noticed how every task, no matter how small, made her stronger and calmer. Sometimes when she laughed with Maya, a faint spark of golden flame danced across her fingertips. She hit it quickly, but Ethan noticed. See, he said. Progress? Lyra frowned but couldn't hide her smile. Maybe. Just a little. One night while they were closing the workshop, a strange noise came from outside. A deep metallic growl. Ethan stepped out with a flashlight. In the dark, two glowing red eyes stared back. A rogue machine beast, half-dragon in shape, charged at them from the alley. Ethan froze. Lyra pushed him aside and raised her hand instinctively. For a second, her heart filled with fear and then warmth. A flash of golden fire burst from her palm, hitting the machine's chest. It exploded into sparks. She fell to her knees, breathing hard, staring at the smoking wreck. Her hands were shaking, but her flame had returned. Ethan helped her up. You did it, he said softly. She smiled weakly. No, we did it. You taught me how to stand again. Above them, the moonlight glowed bright on her wings. For the first time since her fall, Lyra felt alive, not as a princess, but as someone reborn. And somewhere far away, unseen eyes watched the fire rise again. The Dragon Council had seen her light, and their judgment was coming. Morning light filled the workshop again. The air was warm, carrying the smell of tea and old metal. Ethan was already working, fixing a cleaning drone near the window. Lyra stood outside, feeling the cool wind on her face. It had been a few weeks since she arrived. Her wings were healing, her strength returning. The once proud dragon princess was no longer the same. She swept floors, fixed tools, and even helped Maya with her school projects. Every small act felt strange, but good. That morning, Maya ran toward Lyra, holding something behind her back. Close your eyes, the little girl said. Lyra raised an eyebrow. Why? Because it's a surprise. Maya giggled. With a sigh, Lyra obeyed. She felt tiny hands place something cold and shiny around her neck. Okay, open them. When Lyra opened her eyes, she saw a small pendant made from an old robot gear tied with a blue ribbon. "It's not much," Maya said shyly, "but I made it for you, so you won't forget us when you fly away." Lyra touched the pendant gently. For a moment she couldn't speak. Dragons never gave gifts, they demanded tribute. But this human child, small and soft, had given her something from the heart. "It's beautiful," Lyra whispered. "Thank you." Maya smiled brightly. "You're welcome. Now you're part of our team." Ethan looked up from his tools. "Looks good on you," he said with a wink. Lyra rolled her eyes but smiled back. "You humans are strange," Ethan laughed. "We get that a lot." That afternoon, Lyra and Maya went outside to buy supplies from a nearby scrapyard. The city was busy. Robots working, people shouting, drones flying above. Maya skipped happily beside Lyra, holding her hand. "Do dragons have children?" Maya asked suddenly. Lyra blinked. "Not often. Dragons live long lives. We focus on power, not families." "That sounds lonely," Maya said quietly. Lyra looked away. "It is." They walked in silence for a moment. Then Maya grinned. "Well, you have us now." Lyra's chest felt warm. She didn't understand it, but it made her heart lighter. When they reached the scrapyard, Maya ran off to look at old robot parts. Lyra waited by the gate. Suddenly, she heard laughter, mean laughter. 3 older kids stood around Maya, blocking her path. "Hey, what's this?" one boy said, grabbing Maya's flower pin. "You think you're a hero?" "Give it back!" Maya shouted. The boy pushed her, and she fell. Lyra's eyes turned cold. She stepped forward, her shadow stretching across the ground. "Leave her," Lyra said quietly. The boys turned and froze. They didn't know who or what she was, but her eyes glowed faint gold. Who are you?" one stammered. "I'm the one you shouldn't test," Lyra said softly. They dropped the flower pin and ran. Maya looked up with wide eyes. "You scared them away." Lyra knelt and helped her up. "No, little one." They scared themselves. Maya hugged her tightly. "Thank you, Lyra." Lyra froze for a moment, then slowly hugged her back. It was the first hug she had ever received in her life. It felt real. That night, Ethan listened quietly as Maya told the story at dinner. Lyra was like whoosh and the boys were like ah, Maya said, waving her arms. Ethan laughed. "Sounds like I missed quite the adventure." Lyra shrugged. "They were only children." "Even children can be cruel," Ethan said softly. "But you did good." Maya handed Lyra a piece of bread. "You're my hero now." Lyra smiled faintly. "I'm no hero, Maya." "Maybe not yet," Ethan said, looking at her with calm eyes. "But you're learning." Lyra didn't reply, but deep inside something shifted. She looked at the pendant again. It glowed faintly in the candlelight, like a piece of her heart had been rebuilt. Later that night, when everyone was asleep, Lyra went outside. The moon hung low and silver. She lifted her hand, and for the first time since her fall, a steady golden flame flickered on her palm. It was small but strong. She smiled to herself. Starting from 0, maybe isn't so bad. But far away on a high mountain, someone else had seen that flame. A dark figure cloaked in shadows whispered into a glowing crystal. "The lost princess lives. And she's with a human." The crystal pulsed with red light. "Prepare the hunters," the voice said coldly. "She must be brought back." Back in the human city, the dragon princess slept peacefully for the first time in years, unaware that her peaceful days were almost over. The next morning felt peaceful. Sunlight spilled across the rooftops, and Maya chased a paper bird through the street, while Ethan cleaned the front steps. Lyra watched them with a calm smile. For the first time since her fall, she felt at home. But peace never lasts long. High above the city, dark wings moved behind the clouds. 3 dragon soldiers glided silently through the mist, their armor black as burnt steel. They followed the faint trace of golden fire, the same light Lyra had unknowingly released days ago. Down below, Lyra didn't sense them yet. She was busy helping Maya fix a tiny robot pet. The little machine wagged its tail and beeped happily. Maya laughed. "See? He likes you." Lyra smiled. "It's just metal." "Maybe," Maya said. "But even metal can have a heart if you believe." Lyra shook her head with a soft laugh. Humans, she thought, were strange, and yet they made the world brighter. That evening, clouds began to gather. The air turned cold. Ethan locked the doors early. "Storm coming," he said. Lyra stood at the window uneasy. Something felt wrong. The sky smelled of smoke, not rain. Suddenly a flash of red fire lit the distance. Then another. Alarms wailed in the lower city. Ethan grabbed his coat. "That's not lightning." Lyra's eyes widened. "No, that's dragonfire." Before Ethan could answer, the roof shook. A massive shape landed outside. The shadow of a dragon soldier, wings folded tight. Two more appeared beside him. "By the order of the Dragon Council," one roared. "Princess Lyra Draconis, surrender at once," Maya screamed and hid behind her father. Ethan stood in front of her, trembling but firm. Lyra stepped forward, fire burning faintly in her hands. "Leave them." "This is between us," the lead soldier sneered. "You live among humans now? You shame your bloodline." "I've found more honor here than I ever did in your halls," she answered. The dragon's eyes narrowed. "Then you will burn with them." He opened his mouth, fire bursting toward the workshop. Lyra moved faster than she ever had. She spread her wings wide, shielding Ethan and Maya. Flames crashed against her scales, but she stood firm, roaring with pain. Ethan shouted, "Lyra, no!" She pushed the fire back with a burst of golden light. The ground cracked under her feet. The soldier staggered, surprised by her strength. "You want me?" she shouted. "Come take me." They charged. Wings clashed, sparks flew, and thunder filled the streets. Lyra fought with all she had, but there were three of them. Trained warriors, ruthless and proud. One hit her wing. Another slashed her side. She fell to one knee, panting. Ethan ran forward, swinging an iron pipe. "Get away from her!" The dragons laughed. "A human? You think you can fight us?" But Ethan didn't stop. He struck the soldier's leg, buying Lyra a second to breathe. Then claws swept through the air. Ethan was thrown back, hitting the wall hard. "Dad!" Maya screamed. Lyra's heart froze. She saw blood on Ethan's arm, and something inside her snapped. The world around her slowed. Her breath burned hot. The pendant Maya had given her began to glow, brighter and brighter. She rose slowly, eyes blazing gold. "You hurt my family." Her fire exploded upward, shaking the street. The dragons shielded their faces as a wave of light threw them back. Her wounds closed, her wings healed. For the first time, her power wasn't wild. It was pure, guided by love, not pride. With one mighty roar, she lifted into the sky and sent a spiral of golden fire around the soldiers. Their armor melted. Terrified, they fled into the clouds. When it was over, Lyra landed beside Ethan. He was still breathing, but weak. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you fight them?" He smiled faintly. "Because you're family now." Maya ran to him, crying. Lyra's hands shook as she pressed them over his wound. Her fire glowed softly, healing what she could. "Stay with us," she said. "Please." Ethan nodded weakly. "You see, Lyra, humans don't give up." She looked at him, tears mixing with rain. "I know. You taught me." That night, as Ethan rested, Lyra sat outside with Maya. The little girl clutched the pendant around Lyra's neck. "Will they come back?" Maya whispered. Lyra stared at the sky. "They will try. But this time, I'll be ready." Far away, on the mountains of Draconis, the Dragon Council watched through crystal mirrors. Their leader's voice echoed in fury. "She dares protect humans? Then she has chosen her side. Send the High Hunter." The storm above the city rumbled like a warning. The true battle was only beginning. Night covered the human city in a cold silver glow. The streets were silent except for the faint buzz of broken streetlights. Inside the small workshop, Ethan lay on a cot, breathing slowly, his arm wrapped in bandages. Lyra sat beside him, her wings folded tight. Her eyes glowed softly in the dark, full of guilt and fire. Maya slept in the corner, holding her father's hand even in dreams. Every few minutes, the child's small voice whispered, "Please don't go, Dad." Lyra's chest ached. She had fought dragons, survived storms, and faced exile. Yet this tiny human family had taught her what fear really was. The fear of losing someone you love. She looked at her hands. Scales shimmered under her skin, but her power felt cold, heavy, useless. "Why can't I heal him completely?" she whispered. "I have the fire of the ancients." "Why isn't it enough?" From the window, the city looked wounded too, half in ruin, half in light. It reminded her of herself. Half dragon, half broken. Then she heard a sound, a deep metallic roar from above. The ground trembled. Lyra ran outside. The sky burned crimson as a massive shape descended from the clouds, black wings wider than any she had seen before. His armor was carved from obsidian and his eyes blazed red. "The High Hunter," Lyra whispered. "They really sent him?" He landed with a crash that shattered the street. "Lyra Draconis," he thundered. "You have betrayed your kind. The Council demands your return or your death." Lyra stood firm. "I will not go back. Then you and the humans will burn together." He raised his hand and a storm of dark fire shot toward her. Lyra spread her wings, blocking the blast, but the power pushed her to her knees. Inside the workshop, Maya woke with a scream. "Lyra!" Ethan forced himself up despite the pain. "Stay here, Maya," he said weakly. "She needs me." He stumbled outside, standing beside Lyra. She looked at him in shock. "You can't fight him." Ethan smiled through the pain. "Maybe not, but I can stand with you." Those words struck something deep inside her. Her heart, her flame, her very soul seemed to hear them. The High Hunter laughed. "A human stands beside a dragon?" Pathetic, but Ethan didn't move. "You don't understand humans," he said. "We don't stop when it's hard. We fight even when we're weak," the hunter growled, gathering power. "Then die with her." He unleashed another wave of dark fire. Ethan closed his eyes, but Lyra stepped forward. Her wings exploded with golden light. The pendant around her neck, Maya's little gift, began to glow brighter and brighter until the whole street shimmered. The golden fire wrapped around her, mixing with the memory of every human kindness she had seen. Maya's laughter, Ethan's smile, their home, their hope. In that moment, Lyra understood. Her true strength was not born from dragon blood. It came from heart, from the human spirit that refused to give up. She rose higher, her voice echoing across the city. "I am Lyra of Draconis. I am dragon, and human in heart. You cannot break me." Her fire blazed brighter than the moon, washing the sky in gold. The High Hunter roared and charged, but his darkness melted against her light. They collided in a thunderous shockwave that lit the entire skyline. Ethan shielded his eyes as the golden flames spiraled upward, swallowing the hunter in pure light. When the fire cleared, only Lyra remained. Her armor cracked, her eyes glowing like the sun. She landed softly beside Ethan, trembling but alive. The hunter was gone, nothing left but ashes carried by the wind. Ethan looked at her amazed. You did it." Lyra knelt beside him, smiling through tears. "No, we did it. You taught me how." Maya ran out and hugged them both tightly. "You're glowing, Lyra." Lyra laughed softly. "Maybe that's what happens when you finally stop running from who you are." Above them, dawn broke. The storm clouds drifted away and the city lights flickered back to life. People peeked out from their homes, whispering in awe as they saw a dragon and a human standing side by side under the rising sun. Lyra looked toward the horizon. "The Council won't stop, but now I know how to face them." Ethan nodded. "Then we'll face them together." Lyra smiled. Together. As the first rays of morning light touched her wings, the dragon princess, once fallen, once forgotten, rose anew. Not as royalty, not as a weapon, but as a bridge between worlds, and somewhere, far beyond the clouds, the Council watched in silence, their power trembling before a truth they never understood. Even dragons could learn from humans how to rise from zero. Morning light covered the city in gold. Smoke from the battle still drifted through the air, but peace had finally returned. Birds sang on broken towers, and people came out from hiding to see what had happened. They found her there, Princess Lyra of Draconis, standing beside the wounded human janitor and his little girl. Her golden wings shimmered in the new sun. To the humans, she looked like a guardian angel. To the dragons watching from afar, she looked like a traitor and a miracle. Ethan sat on the steps of the workshop, his arm bandaged again. Maya clung to him, sleepy but safe. Lyra knelt beside them, her fire dim now, calm instead of fierce. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Ethan smiled. "Still here. Guess I'm tougher than I look," Maya giggled. "Daddy's the strongest janitor in the whole world." Lyra laughed, a sound bright and light like wind through bells. She hadn't laughed like that in years. The street around them was filled with quiet faces. Humans who once feared dragons now stepped forward, slowly, carefully. A woman handed Lyra a cloth. "Thank you for saving us," Lyra accepted it gently. "I only protected what matters." Someone else added, "You're one of us now." Those words sank deep. For the first time, she didn't feel like a dragon or an exile, just someone who belonged. Later that day, as they repaired the workshop, a faint shadow passed over the city. A messenger drone landed beside Lyra, bearing the symbol of the Dragon Council. A small crystal message glowed. Princess Lyra Draconis, the council summons you. Return in honor, or be judged. Ethan frowned. You don't have to go back to them. Lyra looked toward the distant mountains. I must, not to kneel, but to speak. Maya tugged her sleeve. Will you come back? Lyra smiled and touched the pendant around her neck. This gift will always lead me home. The journey back to Draconis was long. She flew higher than clouds, through storms and winds, her golden fire lighting the dark skies. When she reached the floating kingdom, every dragon in the sky stopped to stare. The princess who had fallen now returned. Not weak, not proud, but changed. The Dragon King, her father, waited on the throne, his eyes cold. Why return? You turned your back on us, Lyra bowed once. Because you were wrong, father. You taught us that strength means victory, but I learned from humans that strength also means care, hope, and starting again. Murmurs spread through the hall. One elder scoffed, humans are weak. Lyra looked at them all. Then why do they rise every time they fall? Why did a janitor teach me what no master ever could? The hall went silent. Her father's gaze softened for the first time. You speak with fire again, but a different kind. Lyra nodded. The fire of a heart, not a weapon. The king stood, his voice heavy. Then show us this new fire. Lyra spread her wings. Golden light poured out, warm and peaceful, not destructive. It touched every dragon in the room, and for a moment, they felt what she had felt. Compassion, courage, and the strength of humans, the oldest elder whispered. Perhaps the humans are not weak after all. When Lyra returned to Earth weeks later, the city was rebuilding. Children painted her image on walls, and workers cleaned streets under banners of dragons and humans together. Ethan was there, standing beside Maya, waiting. She landed softly. You kept the place clean, she teased. He grinned. Someone had to. You left dust everywhere. Maya ran into her arms. I knew you'd come back. Lyra hugged her tightly. And I always will. That night they sat on the roof watching stars. Lyra looked at the sky where two worlds, Earth and Draconis, now shared peace. Ethan broke the silence. So what now, princess? She smiled. No princess anymore. Just Lyra. But there's much to do. Dragons and humans must learn to build together. Maya yawned. Will there be more adventures? Lyra looked into the horizon, her eyes glowing softly. Always, because every ending is just a new beginning. The wind carried her words like a promise across the night sky. Golden embers danced above the city, symbols of unity, born from fire and kindness, and in that moment the world knew. Even dragons can fall, learn from humans and rise again, stronger, wiser and full of heart.